You're watching The Citizen Report, real, in-depth American.
Welcome to The Citizen Report. I'm Jonathan Shannon. Thank you for joining me tonight. As always, this newscast is real, in-depth American. It's always good to be back here with you. Thank you so much for joining me. So today there was a terrorist attack in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, of course. And in case you don't know by now, there was a terrorist attack in Washington, D.C. And as I understand it, two members of the West Virginia National Guard were shot. Initial reports were saying they were in critical condition. For a short time, it was being circulated, even by the governor of West Virginia, that they had died, that they had passed away. Then the correction was made that no, they had actually not passed away, but are in not using their words, but basically they're in very critical condition in hospital right now. So I'm coming on the air right now. I want to share a few things with you. There is, as I understand it, going to be an address made by President Trump about this in about approximately 3 minutes or so. I've got the volume turned up on that feed, so when he starts to talk, you should just immediately hear it, and I'll of course cut straight to it if or when he takes the podium. In the meantime, I want to just kind of go over some of the facts of the situation as they currently stand. So, you know how I am here on the Citizen Report. I don't like to use the mainstream media, mainstream Mockingbird media as sources, but sometimes you have to use them to some extent. But let me put this up on screen. So this is an NBC News article. Headline reads, "What we know about the Washington, D.C. shooting of two National Guard members." And basically, let's look at this a little bit. So it starts off saying this: two National Guard members were shot in broad daylight in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday afternoon, just one day before Thanksgiving, in what officials described as a targeted attack. The Guard members are in critical condition, authorities said. They were shot in the head, according to a U.S. official and a senior official directly briefed on the investigation. The suspect was also shot and taken to a hospital. He has been identified as Rahmanullah Lakwal. 4 senior law enforcement sources briefed on the investigation said. So, it occurred at approximately 2:15 this afternoon in Washington, D.C., near the Farragut Square Metro Station, sort of in the vicinity of the 17th and High Streets Northwest. So it's basically a few minutes walk from the White House. So that's from the article from NBC News. So as I said, folks, I'm waiting for President Trump to speak on this. I actually was getting very close to coming on and doing this show. I didn't even know Trump was going to talk, so it kind of timed out the way that it did. But I want to just kind of talk with you about a number of different things concerning this. There's a lot of pictures, a lot of things around social media, and I'm going to be very, very cautious on what I share here. And I'm debating whether to even share this photo. Any of these photos circulating you can easily find on the web, but I try to be cautious on some of the things that I do share. Let me
My
give a
great
disclaimer.
fellow Americans.
All right, President Trump
Earlier
is speaking.
today, on
Let's
the
go
eve
to it
of
right
the
now.
Thanksgiving holiday, 2 members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C., were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival. An example is Minnesota, where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state. Billions of dollars are lost, and gangs of Somalians come from a country that doesn't even have a government, no laws, no water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good. We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again, and we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice if the bullets going in the opposite direction haven't already done that. During this time of the year, when we gather at home with loved ones, these 2 patriots were wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling the streets of our capital. They had taken a selfless oath to defend our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that is exactly what they were doing when they were gunned down in a savage attack. I want to express my extraordinary gratitude to every member of the United States military who is deployed tonight at home and abroad. I also want to thank the Secret Service and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department for their work today. This Thanksgiving, I ask every family to say a prayer for the 2 great heroes who were so horribly shot, and for their loved ones. Please say a prayer. May God bless them and comfort them, and may God bless and protect the United States of America. Thank you and good night.
So that was President Trump. He just gave that speech live on air. Looks like based on that video, he did it from, I'm assuming, Mar-a-Lago down there in West Palm Beach, Florida. And basically, to sum it all up, it was a speech to rally the country around these 2 National Guard members that are fighting for their lives tonight. I think I'm well within the safe zone to say that. And also basically a message of defiance that the deep state, you know, all their tactics, we're not going to play those games. And if you come to this country and badmouth us, you shouldn't even be here anyway. So it was I would say, a well-rounded address for the current moment that we are in as a nation. So what I want to do while I'm on the air live with you is talk about a couple of different things that try to approach this from an angle that some people are picking up on, but most people aren't really talking about, at least not yet. And that has to do with sort of the incitement aspect to this. Now, like I said, when President Trump started to speak, I just immediately cut to that. But what I was about to do was show you a picture, and I want to be very, very cautious by saying ahead of time that if you're, viewer discretion is advised, but you can find this all across X, formerly Twitter, across social media. With that disclaimer, here's the picture. I'm going to put it on screen right now. So this is a picture allegedly taken of one of the National Guard members that was shot. I'm assuming a head wound shot there. So obviously, assuming this person does end up surviving, it's going to be a long road back to, back to normal, basically. And it's like a war zone picture, yet it's in our nation's capital. One might think, when you look at that picture, you might think that this is a picture out of the Middle East or something, but this is in Washington, D.C., and yet it is the leftist policies that have played into this. And let me just put this up on screen now. This is Rawls Alerts on X, and this is what he said. This is allegedly a head picture of the suspect, by the way. It says, breaking, the 29-year-old shooter known as Rahmanullah Lokhandwal, an Afghan national who shot 2 National Guard members, is reported to have entered the United States under the Biden administration's Operation Allies Welcome, a program created to resettle Afghans after the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. So, well, there you go. More evidence that the Democrats have kind of laid the groundwork for all the nonsense that we're now seeing playing out. Now, this is something that not a lot of people are talking about as yet, but we need to talk about. Amanda Grace, Ark of Grace Ministries, pointed this out, and I'm going to mention it now as well. And this is from, and then by the way, if I like to make eye contact, but I'm having to kind of look down because there's a lot of moving parts, especially with a live show such as this. But this is a headline, not from today, but from about 6 days ago. This is November 20th, so about 6 days ago. This is from the Associated Press, and this is their headline. Let me just put it up on screen for you. Judge orders Trump administration to end National Guard deployment in D.C. Now, doesn't that strike you as a little eerie that the timing of this? So inside of a week, right? Inside of a week, we have a judge, basically, and let me just scroll down here, basically ordering the Trump administration to remove the National Guards from the nation's capital. Now, why did Trump do this in the beginning? Because basically, it's kind of like the Chicago East almost. I mean, people are getting shot. People, it's become a very unclean and unsafe environment. And yet, our nation's capital should be the exact opposite, if anything. So basically, you have, leftist Democrats in power for a very long time of the city's government, which, by the way, Washington, D.C., technically speaking, has kind of a home rule situation, but ultimately, United States Congress has ultimate authority over the jurisdiction or the governance of Washington, D.C., but they have devolved certain aspects of governance to a city kind of government, basically. And, it's a disaster. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's a complete disaster. And it's our nation's capital. It's not part of a state. It was ceded from So basically, you have just a quick history lesson here. The Washington side, the Washington D.C. that we know today, was, of course, you have the Potomac River running down through there, and it forms the southern border of Washington D.C. basically now. But when it was originally formed, you had basically part of Virginia and part of Maryland that ceded portions of their land, a little bit of land, to form a national, basically sort of like a neutral ground where as this, sort of this republic of several states could have a sort of a neutral ground for the seat of federal government, basically. So where Arlington, Virginia is, that used to be part of the district, of course, but that was ceded back to Virginia. So what we have today was basically originally part of Maryland. All that to say, it is not part of any state. So therefore, and Congress is a disaster too, by the way, but, this whole notion that, if this doesn't prove that the DC government that is there in place today is a disaster, I don't know what does. And, like I said, Congress has ultimate authority over the governing of that district. And if anything, they need to reassert control, which I don't trust anything about the Congress right now, believe me. But the current DC government is just a completely dysfunctional, corrupt mess, to say the very least about it. But I want to talk about something else that I think is very interesting. Now, first, this is the other picture I was going to put up on screen. There's other pictures circulating, but I'm not going to put the full picture up because it's basically borders on, inappropriate. But I found a picture that I thought would be okay for this particular show. This is the suspect after he was apprehended, basically, and someone took a picture of that. And so, there's just more pictures, and there's a lot of things circulating out there that I don't know if they're credible or not. There is one piece of footage I am going to put up on screen for you, though, and that's this. It doesn't really show that much, but if you look closely, and I'll point this out in a second, you will see some action in this particular clip. So let's cut to it now, and I'll just play it for you. So I'll kind of narrate this a little bit. So basically, well, you can pretty much tell now. It's very hard. It's kind of choppy or kind of jumps around a lot, but you're seeing this is in the immediate aftermath of the shooting where basically they're performing CPR, it looks like, on at least one of the... Okay, there it is. I'll just pause it for a second. There in the background of the shot, you can clearly tell someone's administering CPR on the individual there. So, and as we know, the two members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot, they're not dead, but are in critical condition. Let's go to, sorry folks, I'm trying to jump around here, but let's go to this now. So this is the erroneous post that the governor of West Virginia made about 3:42 this afternoon, Eastern Time, and it says, "It is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C., have passed away from their injuries. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in the service of their country. We are in ongoing contact with federal officials as their investigation continues." Now, that was inaccurate because they're not dead. At least as of right now, and what they're telling us, they're not dead. So, I mean, I don't know who's his press secretary or, chief of staff. He needs a lesson on not saying things until they're confirmed. And it's not always best to be the first, if you get my drift. But at 4:04 p.m., the governor of West Virginia put this out. "We are now receiving conflicting reports about the condition of our two National Guard members and will provide additional updates once we receive more complete information." Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, he had the cable news channels also picking up on, they're now deceased, and then that all had to be retracted, and it's a mess. And that's why, like I said, it's not always the best to be first. If you want to be the best, sometimes you need to wait it out a little bit until more facts emerge that you can verify. Now, this clip of the governor of West Virginia was put out on social media as well. Let's cut to it right now.
Earlier today, 2 West Virginia National Guardsmen were brazenly shot in Washington, D.C. This was an act of unspeakable violence. Our hearts, our thoughts, our prayers go out to the brave service members, their families, and the units who are enduring this terrible tragedy. We're going to work hard with West Virginia. I know the state stands behind the Guard. I know the president, who I just spoke to, stands behind these courageous service members and our state to get through this really difficult time. But just know, we're going to keep working to make sure that justice is served.
Now, that's a better message than that one saying they're deceased, to say the very least about it. Let's go now to another clip, and this is where I kind of want to get into sort of the I don't know if you want to call it predictive programming, incitement. Not really sure what you want to file this particular video under, but let's just go to this, because in one of my recent reports I talked about the 6 members of Congress that they were calling on the military to defy illegal orders by President Trump. What that was really, in my opinion, code for is you call it illegal orders and you defy President Trump. So in other words, they say if President Trump gives the order, it's illegal, so defy it. That's kind of the implication there. I don't need to play that clip again, but you can go find it on my previous report or just find it on social media. It's not hard to find it all. This is Senator Slotkin from Michigan, and this is what she had to say in recent days. And let's just play it. And this is courtesy of X22 Report. This is a recording of ABC This Week.
It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning to say, like, if you're asked to do something, particularly against American citizens, it makes...
So, I don't know. Am I reading too much into this? Or does it sound very eerie when you reconcile this that was said in recent days to what literally just happened today? Let's just play it again one more time. I actually want to hear this again one more time.
It makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians. It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning to say, like, if you're asked to do something, particularly against American citizens, it may...
Okay, so I'll just leave that to you to decide. And if you have an opinion about it, put it down in the comment section. I'm kind of curious to see what you think about that. To my audience out there, what you have to say about that. And let's just let's actually finish on this, because as someone pointed out, and I saw it on my feed somewhere, and basically someone was saying we are getting closer to this, and I think it's probably warrants mentioning at this point. And this is it's YouTube choosing my words carefully, but post number 22, November 1, 2017. And this, so it's, what is it? An 8-year delta, an 8-year delta to the month of November. So November 2017 to November 2025. Let me just read this for you. It's a little hard to read. Maybe I'd take it full and then make it a little bit bigger, but I'll just read it for you. It's post number 22, November 1, 2017, and it reads, Who controls the National Guard? Why was the National Guard recently activated in select cities within the U.S.? Can the National Guard work in coordination with the Marines? Do conditions need to be satisfied to authorize? What former president used the military to save the Republic, and what occurred exactly? Biggest drop to ever be provided on POL. Study and prepare. The masses tend to panic in such situations. No war, no civil unrest, clean and swift. So that was the post from November 1, 2017, post number 22. So, as I said, this is a situation with a lot of moving parts to it, a lot of developments, and therefore, much to my dissatisfaction personally, there's not much more I can say as fact about this situation right now. But, if warranted, another report will be done about it. But that's probably where I'm going to leave it tonight. Obviously was not planning to do a report tonight. You don't plan for a terrorist attack. You don't plan to do a news broadcast in the wake of a terrorist attack. But when one does occur, sometimes you just have to do one. So let me just remind you before I go of where you can find the Citizen Report. Of course, if you're watching here on YouTube, thank you so very much. Consider subscribing, liking, and sharing my reports. Subscribe to this channel, Jonathan Shannon. That's the current home of the Citizen Report on YouTube. And on Rumble, you can keyword search The Citizen Report. You can go to the website, thecitizenreport.net. You can also follow me on X at JFilmGuy. So, you can search for my first and last name or the username JFilmGuy. So, I think that's it for me, folks. And God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. If I don't see you again in the next coming days, I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving. Whether you have family to celebrate it with or not, I hope that you take a moment to just be grateful to God in Jesus' name for all the blessings. The gift of life itself is worth celebrating and being thankful for. Let's not forget that. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you right back here again next time here on the Citizen Report. Have a great night, everyone, and a very happy Thanksgiving to all of you.